Welcome. What is up? Welcome to The Mixer, episode 10, right? Season 1, episode 10.
Something like that.
I am your host, RC. I'm joined by my co-host here, Jeff. Jeff, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. You having a good morning so far?
Yeah. Awesome. I got a little workout in. The baby slept pretty okay last night. Not the night before though, I do have to say. So, yeah, feel rested and fresh.
There you go.
Right off the bat, don't forget, subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and follow us on our social channels at FCY Mixer on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And rate and review. Don't be afraid to spread the word. Let's try to get some more people in our world here. The sport's been awesome so far, so thank you to everybody that's been listening. I do see that we do have some iTunes reviews. No like written reviews, but when asked how people like this show, people are giving us some stars. Can't say the same about Hamilton. Just saying.
Lewis is a champion multi-time, and he wins when he's expected to win.
Not that Hamilton.
Say that.
Disney Hamilton.
Disney Hamilton's also a multi-time champion, I believe.
This is true. Anywho, let's get into it. So last week, I opened up to you guys. I told you about a Costco story. I got another story to share. I don't know how your week is going, Jeff, but maybe it's just the pandemic in general. It might be turning me into a Karen. Has it affected you at all in that?
Not at all. I don't care at all.
No. Okay. No. Man, okay. So I've been putting off some repairs on my Jeep. Basically, it's been throwing a code for a while. It's a small fuel evap leak or something like that. I have a code reader, and it's been saying that for like 2 years. It doesn't affect the daily driving, or actually more like monthly driving. I probably take it out once a month. And the problem is when I go to smog it, it doesn't pass smog because of that code. I have to disconnect the battery, drive it for a little bit, hope that the thing doesn't come back on, and then get it tested. And that's been fine. But anyway, I might be selling the Jeep soon, so I'm trying to take care of all those little things. Okay. So I take it down to dealership and I tell them, and I say, hey, it's had this code. Everything I read online says to change the fuel cap. I changed the fuel cap. It doesn't work. The guy's like, oh, yeah, okay. We'll take care of that. And we'll also, you've had some recalls. Passenger side airbag is, might kill your passenger. You need some new wiring in your mirror and like one other thing. Like, we'll take care of that and also see what's wrong with it. Cool. Leave it overnight.
Okay.
They call me up. They say, hey, it's going to be $2,000 to fix your car. I'm like, don't have $2,000. But thank you. I'm going to come pick it up. They're like, okay. So I go down there, pick it up. Guy's like filling it out. He gives me a printout of everything that's wrong with it. And basically all that needs to be done is like one little part needs to be replaced and like change the fuel cap to like the OEM, the manufacturer part. And then like they also recommend a tune-up and to change my rear brakes. The quote they gave me was like $2,200. And it's like yeah. I could do all that. It's like $500 for manufacturer parts, which is high.
Right.
I was like, but these are all easy repairs. I can handle it. I tell him thanks. And then he's like, okay, well, let me bring your car around. He's like, actually, they might have to jump start it. I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, your battery's dead. I was like, when I brought it here, the battery wasn't dead. And right. And they're like, oh, well, yeah, we've been trying to charge it all afternoon, and it's just completely dead. It has no charge. So yeah. I was like, that battery is a year old. Why is my battery dead? Like, why are you telling me my battery's dead? And they're like, well, it's all that aftermarket wiring you have that needs to be replaced on your battery. And I'm like, I was like, I have a CB radio and I used to have a light bar, but that's been disconnected for a while.
Yeah.
But I haven't turned the CB radio on and my light bar is not even connected. So how is that draining my battery?
Right.
And he's like, and he's like, well, it just does. And I'm like, but I brought it here and it was working fine. And he's like, are you saying that we made your battery go dead? Because I can tell you that didn't happen. I was like, I was like, okay. I was like, thank you. Your manager's gonna be hearing from me. And
Right.
so I'm angry, and it's about to be closing time for them. They're like shutting down everything, and so I go out to my car. Sure enough, battery's dead. So I call AAA. I have my hood up in the dealership, and like nobody's offering to come help me or anything.
Yeah.
AAA says they're going to be 90 minutes, and I'm like, lovely. They show up in like 15, so awesome. AAA.
I will say I gotta be with AAA is the greatest at that. Like they tell me, I've had a couple times where I've had either a flat tire or a dead battery, and they always estimates like 45 minutes, an hour,
Yeah,
and they're there within 20 minutes almost every time.
yeah. I used my insurance once
Yeah.
because most insurance companies have roadside assistance,
Right.
and they said like 45 minutes, and it took like 70 or something. I was
Yeah.
like, ugh. Anyway, so AAA shows up in like 15 minutes. Guy's like, what's wrong? I was like, they gave me back my Jeep and the battery's dead. They're like, what?
Yeah.
He's like, what? He's like, well, that's not very nice of them. I was like, yeah, I know. And so he goes and he's like, all right, try to start it up and then turn it, fires right up. And he connected the reader or whatever, the like electric jump starter that they have.
Yeah.
And he's like, it wasn't starting before. I was like, no. He's like, well, all I did was like tighten the terminal. He's like, it seems like they disconnected your battery and didn't reconnect it. I was like,
Yeah.
which I know to check, but since I'm getting it back from the dealership, I assume they did that.
Right.
Hands up, I should have double checked. Anyway, so like there's absolutely nothing wrong with the battery, but they gave it to me dead, lied, and said that they were charging it the whole afternoon. And then I asked the guy, like, why didn't you tell me when you called me to come down here to pick it up? And he's like, well, they just told me as you were coming down here. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
What? Anyway, so I wrote a well-worded email. I haven't heard anything back. I've called. They're not returning my calls, They haven't get me go straight to voicemail. So anyway, do not do business with the Jeep dealership in Mission Valley.
Dang,
because
that's a rough experience.
yeah, man. I mean, I feel like I'm trying to be scammed. They give me like a $2,200 bill. Oh, and that was the other thing when I told him that. When I asked him why he didn't tell me beforehand, he's like, "Well, you didn't even get the repairs done that you came in here for, so I don't know what to tell you." And it's like, man, I thought this was under warranty. Like I asked you, and like I just can't afford it, So it was just really, really
Right.
bad service.
Yeah,
So,
that sounds terrible.
yeah, man. So I mean, the world is turning me into a Karen, man. It's just bad luck. Bad luck. So
It happens.
yeah, to be continued. We'll see what happens. I'm going to dispute the charge at the very least. I mean, I don't know what else I can do, but they returned my vehicle to me damaged essentially.
Right.
And not functioning. All right. How about we get into some sports? Sports are back, kind of. I guess it's a weird world we live in, but I noticed the theme. I feel like we're partying like it's 1995 again. So Mike Tyson is having a fight. Baseball is back after a long hiatus, just like it did after the 94 strike season. Michael Jordan is in the headlines. The Last Dance is on Netflix now. Go watch it if you haven't. The NFL in LA still continues to be a storyline. Hard Knocks is about to start. there's an F1 emotional return to Imola, a track that hasn't been in action for a while. There was a crash there in the mid-90s, killed a champion. So interesting that that's back in the headlines. Oh, and the Redskins still have a weird name, which has been a perennial thing. But to start things off, I want to talk some baseball. So the Padres, the Dre's, your first place San Diego Padres, won the opening game. And they're looking pretty good. They won this first series 3-1, 3-1. In the game they lost. They only lost by a run and kind of a blown pitching by Kirby Yates. It got me thinking, man. The last time there was an MLB shortened season was when Tony Gwynn was making the run at 400. How San Diego would it be for either of them to look like maybe the best team? Well, at least in contention. Maybe not the best team, but in contention at the top, and then the season shortened. Or they win the World Series, but you can't have a parade because of the coronavirus. Would that be the most San Diego thing ever?
I'm with you that it would be very San Diego. It'd be very on brand.
Yeah.
You have a great team. You're not just winning in a season where there's no parade. You're also winning in a season that's a third the length of a normal season.
Yeah, asterisks. Oh, that was
there would be so many things. Like it'd still be great for San Diego, but there would be so many things. Like looking at it, like, well, does that really count in a lot of ways? But that's if at this point, if we even have a rest of the season.
Yeah, for real. It's like the Yankees and the Dodgers both have outbreaks, and they're like done by mid-August or something. It's like, oh yeah, the Padres beat the Tigers in the World Series or something like that.
Right.
And, yeah, and it just wouldn't mean anything. Well, it'd mean less. Yeah, that would be hilarious. We're all about the lulls here, so I would love that to happen. It would just be, it'd give us more subject matter to discuss. Jeff, did you see Fauci's opening day first pitch?
Of course.
Does that mean where does that rank? Was that the worst first pitch ever?
No.
No.
So
50 Cent, Carly Rae Jepsen.
No. Worst first pitch ever has to be by an athlete. I don't expect any non-athlete to be any good at this.
Okay.
Fauci
said he used to play baseball. I heard him talking about it.
And he's been in a lab for 30 years. I don't care. It was terrible, right? I honestly believe everyone should be able to throw a baseball 60 feet. Yeah. And they're not even having to throw it 60 feet. They're throwing it like 50 or 45 half the time. But you should be able to throw a baseball with relative accuracy 60 feet. It's not that hard. It's not heavy.
Yeah.
Like, if you spend any time practicing, you can figure it out. So that's
you would think.
Yes. So that's an irritating thing there. But it is what it is. Fauci's a doctor, right? He's really good at what he does. Okay. Worst first pitch ever has to go to an athlete, because athletes, regardless of what sport you're in or coming from, should be able to throw a base, should be able to convert some of your athleticism into something else.
Right.
So that's why Carl Lewis will always get my worst first pitch ever.
I don't know if I've seen that one. I'll have to look it up. But
it's terrible.
I was heartbroken to see Fauci go out there and just, yeah. It was no George Bush after 9/11. Maybe the greatest first pitch ever. My next question for you, Jeff, is does that mean we are screwed if Fauci, puts that over the plate? Do the Marlins have the outbreak that they currently have, which we'll get into later. But is this an ill omen?
I don't think so, because, like I said, there's been terrible first pitches before. I'm not one to think that like a first pitch really means something. The only one that I've ever thought actually meant anything was after 9/11. And it wasn't even the first pitch itself. It was just the fact that it happened and that the game happened, right?
Yeah.
But it helps when you have a strong first pitch. But Fauci just being there, making the pitch, and then the game happening was a great sign.
Yeah. Just thinking back, 50 when he had his terrible first pitch. Now, he's I guess he's still big time. I would say he's out there with Floyd, but is he more of a producer now? I'm not into the hip hop and rap scene too much.
I honestly don't even know what 50's into these days.
All I hear is he posts some weird shit on Instagram or social media trying to get money that people owe him, and he has beef with Floyd Mayweather. That's about all I know.
They used to be like best friends.
Yeah. And then Carly Rae Jepsen, cool throwback. Was she even ever relevant? But yeah, her terrible first pitch it certainly didn't help her career. Anywho, well, her name's still brought up, so maybe she's more known for that. Anywho.
True.
So some other baseball news. It was recently announced that they are expanding the playoffs. I can't believe that they didn't have this wrapped up before, well before the season started. They're saying that, well, it's going to be a 16-team playoff. The first round is a best-of-3 series, and it's all going to be at the team with the better records stadium, so a bigger home field advantage. The way teams get in is first and second from each division, plus 2 wild cards from each league. The National League and American League will be making the playoffs. So Padres in with a shot. Really, any team is, I guess, besides some of the perennial bottom dwellers. Do you have any thoughts on this playoff format? I'm glad they're opening it up to more teams.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I just think it gives more people a chance. Baseball's always had the smallest amount of teams make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So it'll be more interesting having more teams make it.
Yeah, and
especially in a year where there's more variance because there's less games.
Yeah. I think I'm fine with the number of playoff teams there currently are in a 162 game season. However, I think baseball would really benefit from a shorter regular season and expanding the playoffs. Other baseball news, it doesn't seem as relevant as when I made this note, but Mookie Betts got paid close to $400 million, or maybe it's like $325 million or 10 years. I believe
365 over 12 years.
Yeah, okay, that's what it was. It's the largest contract. However, Mike Trout was given an extension. So if you combined like the years he had remaining on his initial contract plus the extension, he actually nets more money. But I'm a big Mookie fan. It'll kind of stink seeing him in the Dodgers for over a decade. But yeah. I guess congrats to him and to the Dodger fans. They got a stud there. Next up, this is going to take up the majority of the show. It's This Week in the Air is Poison. It's everybody's favorite topic, the coronavirus. So I'm just going to go through some quick hitters here with everything that's been happening. Starting first with the NFL. There were 50 positives in the initial round of NFL testing, which is actually good for the number of people that they tested. It was about a 2% positivity rate. I didn't hear any notable names that had tested positive in that initial round. Um, some other just note. The NFL has made it a requirement that masks be worn to attend their games. Non-wearers will be denied entry, even in states and cities that do not have a mask mandate. Um, whether or not stadiums will permit fans is still to be decided. MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, where both the New York teams play, has said that they're not going to have any fans at their games. They've already made that plan. The upper Northeast was hit hard early on, so they do not want another outbreak.
Right.
Atlanta right now is planning to allow 10 to 20,000 fans. You know, there's going to be a lot of Chargers jokes. I'm already seeing them. If they're playing in front of empty stadium, every freaking chucklehead is going to be like, "Oh, the Chargers are at an advantage because they're used to playing with no fans," or they're not going to be playing 16 away games every year or now. So, yeah, we get it, Twitter head. The joke is there. Take it. Get your 5 laughs and get out. Tired of it. So there was the right guard for the Chiefs. I didn't put down his name. He was the first to opt out from the upcoming season. However, there have been some more notable names. There was a Patriot offensive lineman who opted out last night, and then
Dante Hightower just opted out
morning.
too.
Yep, Hightower, the biggest name to opt out. I guess he just had a baby.
Yeah.
And so that's his reasoning. He sets aside an $8 million contract for the safety of his family. So more names will come. I mean, they set the deadline on this pretty early. They have, I think, less than 10 days to make their decision on whether or not they're going to opt out. However, man, I find it hard to believe, like, if you get into the season, like, how are they going to say you can't opt out if something changes? Anyway, some good news on the NFL front. Alex Smith, Road to Recovery, Project 11 on ESPN. He's cleared for full activity, full practice. So, big Alex Smith fan here. He's probably my favorite player in the league. So, hopefully he can make a solid comeback in whatever capacity. Just being able to walk for him was a big win. So, good here on that. More coronavirus news. So the Indy 500 announced that they're going to allow 25% capacity. This event holds, I think, up to 200,000 people. So 25% capacity is going to be like 50K. It seems like a lot of people. I mean, there's a lot of space there, but we'll have to see how that goes. Maybe
that'll be interesting.
Probably the biggest sporting event since the coronavirus hit in the world. I did absolutely zero fact checking on that. I just
know about 250,000 people.
Yeah.
So you're looking at like 60K.
Yeah.
Probably is the biggest gathering.
Yes. I believe that track is the biggest sports venue in the world. So, I don't see packed stadiums anywhere else in the world.
Right.
We'll have to see how that goes. Maybe that'll be a Gotland event. Maybe not. Another update. Red Sox pitcher Eduardo Rodriguez, who was projected to be their opening day starter, is still out due to heart problem complications, specifically myocarditis related to testing positive for the coronavirus. And he's a 27-year-old professional athlete, having issues and still being sidelined. I know you must have saw this story, Jeff. The NBA player's horniness strikes. Lou Williams, the Clipper, he broke out of the bubble to go to a strip club for food.
All right, so timeout. Lou came out the other day. He left the bubble to go to a funeral. Someone that was really close to him. He went. On the way back, he went to the strip club and got food.
So I got hit with some fake news.
So, well, I mean, like, it's like
a misleading headline.
No one knew why he left, right? They just knew he went to the strip club. He shared that the other day as an explanation of why he left. He was saying, I didn't just go to the strip club. But Magic City is famous. Like, major famous. Like, this has been mentioned in rap songs for well over, like, 2 decades.
I heard Johnny Manziel say they have the best wings he's ever had.
And then there's that. There's, like, so then, not only is the strip club famous like that, but everyone that's, like, ever talked about it talks about the food, too. So it makes me think that the food is actually legit. Also, somebody on Twitter, it might have been Pablo Torres from ESPN, I think, compared Lou Williams going to a strip club for food to people buying Playboy for the articles. Which is really funny because when you look back at it, Playboy actually did have some legit articles, but no one ever bought it for that, right? So yeah, but I just want to check because Lou tweeted that out either yesterday or the day before, I believe. And so he was saying it was a very, very close person in his life. He went to their funeral, and then on the way back to the bubble, stopped to get food.
I mean, what better way to honor somebody's memory than by getting some hot wings from a strip club?
Also, can we talk about how Lou was found out and then the cover-up that tried to happen? So I don't know how many of you guys listen to hip-hop or rap or whatever you want to call it, but there's a new artist. Well, he's not really new, but he's been around for a couple of years, but he's really blowing up right now. Jack Harlow. I don't know if you know who that is. Jack was apparently at the strip club that night too and took a picture with Lou and posted it. Obviously not thinking about the bubble, right? And so then he posted it. Lou gets quarantined and all that. Jack takes it down and they interview Jack, and his response is, "Oh, that was an old photo. I was just having memories," or something like that. So I gotta say, like, Jack made a mistake posting it, but at least he's got your back.
Oh man, I love the NBA. I knew that we were gonna have some content with this coronavirus thing, and it has not disappointed yet. So yeah, I mean, there's a pandemic going around. People are suffering all over the world, but we have stuff to talk about on our tiny little podcast here.
Exactly.
Silver lining.
And one quick commentary about sports so far is, if we've learned anything, bubbles can work, at least in the short term. NHL, NBA, MLS are all with 0 tests since like mid-July or something like that. Or 0 positives. MLB, who's not doing a bubble, who's allowing teams to travel, just had to shut down 2 games in the first week of baseball starting.
Yeah.
And one team has had 11 out of 33 people test positive. So now, obviously, we don't know the extent of their, like, how they're feeling. They could all be positive but showing no symptoms. We don't know. But the fact that many people are testing positive in such a short amount of time, really, compared to the NBA, the NHL, MLS, like these other sports that are basically going into bubbles. If I were the NFL right now, I would be doing whatever I could to find a bubble available. And putting my teams there.
Yeah, so you think that is the best solution? Because I was gonna ask you that. I mean, you already touched on it. All the Marlins players testing positive. So you think the NFL should be looking for a bubble site?
Oh yeah, if I were the NFL, yeah. I mean,
Football
with the
Island? Football Island?
why not? If someone has it, go wherever there's enough stadiums.
I'm sure the NFL has some Epstein connections. I hear his island isn't being used at the moment.
I don't know if it's big enough.
Hawaii. Why don't they just go to Hawaii?
I don't know if they have enough stadiums or enough. I mean, you don't even need stadiums. So you might as well go to Texas and just take over one of those small cities.
I did think about that. There's all these high school stadiums in Texas. Like, why not? You could probably just put it in one little city.
Half the guys will be going home anyway.
So. Football Town, USA, and I'm sure their facilities are great at those high schools too. Yeah, they got some decisions to make. A 3-month bubble, actually it'd be even longer, would be a feat to pull off. Maybe they shorten the season. I'm sure there'll be, the story is going to be ongoing, but it's going to be fascinating to see the solutions that we come up with.
Yep.
I know, and all this happening, all the Marlins players testing positive, and then I saw that they to discuss, all the positives, they had a players meeting, so they all gathered around to discuss what their next steps were going to be, which is exactly what they shouldn't do. I guess they didn't even know what the guidelines were, like if they should notify the other teams. So, I mean, it seems like they got it sorted out pretty quick. So, anytime you have a new work policy, it's always like, what are we supposed to do? But
right.
But yeah, it just demonstrates how fluid the situation is. And before I forget, I just wanted to comment on the Lou Williams thing. It reminded me of the Pac-Man Jones quote about ain't nothing wrong with going to the script club. I was just being rebellion. So one of my favorite sports quotes of all times. Thanks for the entertaining anecdote, Lou Williams. My pick to win the NBA championship. There was another kind of coronavirus related story in Formula One. Did you watch Lewis Hamilton's Instagram story video?
No, I heard about it, but I didn't watch it.
Yeah, so what happened was Lewis Hamilton, 6-time champ, 7-time champ. I'm losing track.
The guy call him 7-time right now.
Sure, yeah.
It'll be true by the end of the year.
He shared an anti-vax video, which, if you watch the video, doesn't really seem anti-vax. However, there was a caption over the video that said, and it was Bill Gates, and the caption said, "I remember the first time I told a lie," or something like that. And basically, it was an interview with him with whatever CBS's nightly national news is. I don't know the title of it.
Yeah.
But they interviewed Bill Gates about the vaccines and their development, and asked some really good questions. They asked about how the trials were going, the types of side effects that people are getting, and the reporter didn't really she asked some good questions. It wasn't just she wasn't throwing up soft tosses there, but all the time, especially at the start of the interview, she asked, I've heard that 80% of the people report some side effects from these certain trials, and then how are they going to roll out a vaccine that has these types of side effects, and they have like severe chills and blah blah blah. And he's like, yeah, but if you drill down into those numbers, like, some of the side effects listed are pain from the injection. Some of it is, and he goes on to explain that, there are some side effects. However, they're mild and they don't seem to be long term, and that they're certainly going through all the regular scientific FDA approvals and all that. And so that, the benefits of the vaccine outweigh the costs of not having a vaccinated population. And so it was a really, I thought it was a really good discussion. However, Lewis just got dragged for sharing an anti-vax video, I think unfairly, because he offered up an explanation. He said he didn't see the caption, which, I can, maybe it was just, maybe the way it was shown to him, he didn't see the initial, the title, the thumbnail or whatever, as someone who creates thumbnails for our YouTube page. I'm always like, is this actually going to get people to watch it? I'm laughing or adjusting my hat and everyone. So
Right.
I doubt people watch it for the tile. But anyway, so I just wanted to come to Lewis's defense there. Stop looking to attack people. I thought the interview raised some important questions and offered some important explanations.
Yeah.
Which is as much as what he said in his explanation.
Yeah. I mean, anyone can miss a caption. It's not like it's I think a lot of times we're overly critical as a society, especially of people in public places.
Mm-hmm.
We forget that everyone makes mistakes. Or we don't want to believe it, right? We don't want to believe that these people we look up to, like Lewis is arguably the best driver of the last 15 years,
Mm-hmm.
right? He's been so good at what he does. We don't want to believe that like people like him can make a mistake. But then you got to realize he's doing a lot of good with Black Lives Matter, with bringing awareness to certain things. People are going to miss stuff. They're going to make mistakes at times. This isn't, like the kind of mistakes that I don't think we can let pass are the like hateful ones. Like this one is, especially with like anti-vax and with the things that have been going around with people believing that like 5 people get together and run the world, right? Like, I think, especially since this interview had Bill Gates, like Lewis definitely should have been more careful unless he was going to stand behind what he said, right? But it happens. He had a decent explanation for it, something that probably everyone's done. You know what I mean? So it happens. It's the first time that I know of that he's done anything like this. So like you get a pass. You know what I mean?
There was actually I think he made the headlines last year or 2 years ago for another somewhat regrettable Instagram story. However, I mean, I thought this one was even more like an example of people looking to go after him for maybe other motives. But just to explain to you and the listeners what happened is he was hanging out with family, and I think it was like his nephew or something was it was a little boy, and he was wearing a dress. He was wearing a dress, like, just, I don't know, just being a little kid. He's running around, and then Lewis is like, hey man, like, what are you doing? Just like playing around with him. He's like, oh, I'm just playing. He's like, you're wearing a dress, mate. Like what are you wearing a dress? You're not supposed to wear a dress. And he posted that, thinking his little nephew was being cute. However, guess what people latched on to? Lewis being, criticizing, or I don't even know how to explain it, questioning gender roles or something, basically, thinking that Lewis was anti-trans or something because it was like this little boy wearing girl clothes and saying, oh, well, he can wear whatever he wants. It's like, just calm down. He's playing with like his family member, and he's like, yeah, maybe he's teasing him when he shouldn't be, maybe he's not sending the best message, but come on, guys. It's like an innocent interaction between two family members. I wouldn't read into it that much, don't attack this guy over something like that. Maybe you can say like, hey man, just like think about this because you might be sending this message out, but the stuff I saw online was just ridiculous. It's like, really, you're going to go after him because of this? Come on. And, Lewis has some things working against him. And I think people do look for opportunities to attack him. He's not the typical Formula One driver because he's black. And if you see most of the Formula One drivers, his teammate, for instance, from Finland, is like probably the whitest looking guy ever, very straight laced, unemotional. And then, Lewis has cornrows, neck tattoos, hand tattoos, nose piercing, diamond earrings. So, he's just not the typical poster boy. So, I feel like he gets attacked unfairly. He's not my favorite driver because he just happens to drive for teams that I root against.
He's our favorite driver, though. He's our podcast favorite driver.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's giving us content, so and he's giving us relevant Formula One content. So anytime I get to talk about that, I'm all for it. But I respect the hell out of the guy. So yeah, I just hope people can learn something from this. Who knows what that is, but by all means, he seems like a good dude. He was I also want to give him credit. He was one of the first celebrities or athletes to post like coronavirus awareness or best practices. He had like a hand washing video that got shared a lot.
Nice.
He was one of the first ones to do that. So props to him on that. I wanted to get into this story briefly about a WNBA player. I had this on the outline last week, so it's a little older story, but we just didn't have time to get into it. So Elena Dell Donne had a Players Tribune letter, I guess, or essay. I don't know what you call it. It was titled, if you want to look it up, an open letter about my health. So just some context here. She's the reigning WNBA MVP. She's a two-time winner. I think she won it in 2015, and then she won it again last year. So in the essay, letter, whatever, details her experience of living with Lyme disease, which is actually more common than people think. If you don't know what Lyme disease is, I believe you get it from getting a tick bite. Anywho, she has to take 64 pills per day to help out her immune system. She lives a pretty normal life, obviously. She's a professional athlete, but she is immunocompromised. She's had colds take her down, and flu shots have made her seriously ill, at least symptom-wise. So she's considered high risk. Recently, she requested a waiver to be able to opt out from the WNBA season, and the league denied her request. So she's faced with the decision of risking her health or not receiving a paycheck. And the WNBA players are not as well paid as their male counterparts. Obviously, I believe they still make a significant amount of money, but it's nowhere near what the male equivalent would make. So in the essay, she goes into detail about her thoughts on it. I really recommend reading it, but the main takeaway was her message to me, and I just want to read what she said. So she said there's a valuable idea in terms of how we treat other people. We can never fully understand what someone else is going through or what they've been through, in the same way that no one else can ever fully understand what we're going through or what we've been through. There's so much in the world we don't know. the best thing we can do is listen to each other and learn from each other with as much humility as possible. So this is something I thought about when the coronavirus first hit, and I'm seeing people out there without masks, or just not taking it serious. You never really know what the person next to you in line at the grocery store has going on in their life. As a somewhat new father who had to bring home a premature daughter, I can't imagine what it would be like if I had that going on top of the coronavirus. We have Dante Hightower opting out because he has a new baby. So I guess my message to everybody is just be considerate of other people, and I think the best way to do that is by wearing a mask, because although you may be healthy, you may have people in your life that are not at risk. You never know what the person next to you is going through, either personally or somebody in their life is going through from no fault of their own.
Right.
I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Jeff, but I thought her message and story was powerful. I meant to do a follow-up to see if she had made a decision on if she's going to play or not. I kind of hope she does, but yeah, basically the league didn't believe her. They said her disease is fake news.
Yeah. Give me 1 second.
So, yeah, just to kind of finish the story out there is these leagues are asking players to risk their well-being just for entertainment purposes.
All right, I'm back.
Good deal.
Sorry.
No worries. I just hope that we come to some sort of consensus on what the best thing to do in those situations are.
Yeah, real quick. So Elena Donne, for people that don't know, I don't watch the WNBA a lot, but I do pay a little bit of attention to it because I like basketball.
Mm-hmm.
She is, I think in my mind, think of like prime Kevin Durant, except in the WNBA, right? Like Diana Taurasi would be like Michael Jordan, LeBron-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't know if she plays anymore. But Elena Donne is essentially like Kevin Durant. She's 6'5". She's taller than most people. Well, I don't know if she is anymore. But she shoots like crazy. She's the best player in the league. And so this would be like a healthy Kevin Durant. Well, a assumed healthy Kevin Durant being like, I have Lyme disease. I don't want to play this year because I don't want to risk myself. I don't know much about Lyme disease. I know that a lot of people, in response to her article saying she has to take 64 pills, a lot of average people, not like condemning her in any way, but have found other ways to treat Lyme disease that don't involve taking 64 pills a day. And so a lot of people were like, I know on Twitter, were sending her messages like, hey, you should look into this, you should look into that kind of thing. Because I know a lot of people, from what it seemed like, treated it with more I think in America we would deem like Eastern medicine or more holistic medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was kind of awesome, like people with the disease sharing their experiences and like how they've treated it.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think is at play here is something that as an average person, we don't think, or as a non-athlete, we don't think of very often, in that athletes and their personal doctors are at odds with team doctors and league doctors a lot.
Yeah.
Like this is not anything new, that a personal doctor for an athlete is saying to do one thing and the team/league doctors are saying to do another.
Yeah.
If you have any questions on that, ask yourself why more athletes don't get surgeries done by their team doctors. Um, so, if you have any question, look it up. Most athletes go to their personal doctor for whatever surgery, or they go to some specialist, right? Like James Andrews is a very well-known one.
Yeah.
He's not, like in James Andrews' case, he's not a league doctor. He's not a team doctor. He's just a specialist who does good work,
Yeah.
who players trust. So like she's far from the first player to not necessarily trust the league / team doctors.
Mm-hmm.
I just tried to do a quick look, and I don't see like anything about her saying she's decided yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not on her Twitter or anything. That was just a quick Google search. Um, I hope she plays because she's entertaining. She's, like I said, one of the best players in the league. Reigning MVP, like you mentioned. But I fully respect it if she doesn't feel comfortable playing, given that she's already taken 64 pills a day. I know you have in here that, she's had cold and she's had flu shots that have made her seriously ill.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've gotten a flu shot before and I got sick off of it. So for someone that's immunocompromised, I fully understand them, making that decision not to play and not to put themselves at risk in that way.
Yeah.
I think it really sucks that the league's put her in this position, of essentially like not believing her is what it seems like. But some news yesterday that hopefully will maybe mean good news for her at some point, is like Kyrie Irving's donating $1.5 million to help pay WNBA salaries.
Oh, nice.
And I don't believe he'll be the only NBA player that does that. So I think that's kind of awesome, because the women definitely don't make anything close to what the men make.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think you did a great job covering it. I think that quote is awesome. It's something like I've thought about a lot. Regardless of where you're at in life, you and another person could be in the same exact spot in life, but you've no clue how each other got there, right?
Yeah.
You only know how you got there. You don't know how they got there. So if someone's struggling, or I mean, if someone's in a great place, like you don't know their story. You don't know what they've been through, how they perceive things. Like you might know things that have happened in their life, but you don't know how they took it. You don't know how they took it mentally. And with a lot of people, not to change the subject too much, but like mental illness is becoming a bigger topic in our society. There's plenty of people who walk around every day who you would never know would be like clinically depressed or whatever,
Yeah.
right? So you don't know how people perceive things. So, just like she says in this quote, go into every situation, try to learn from each other, and do it with as much humility as possible, because you don't know what the other person's experiencing, going through in that moment, all that stuff.
Yeah. Well said, my man. Well
So
said.
I also like your last quote on here. I'm going to steal this one from you. From Street Fighter. What is
Yeah.
it? Because I do think this is very relevant in a lot of things that happen today in our society, is just because you're the bad guy does not make you a bad guy. And so
like
you
Lewis
can,
Hamilton.
exactly. But like you can look at movies for that, right? Like
Yeah.
we call them anti-heroes, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of times they would be considered a bad guy in their society, but they're not necessarily a bad guy.
Uh-huh.
But this isn't just with like people. This can be taken to ideas, right? So like basically like the way I would interpret this is like, just because an idea is in the minority doesn't make it a bad idea,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you're the only one that believes something, if you're right, right? Just because everyone else believes a certain other way doesn't mean that you're wrong,
So you're
right?
telling me that me thinking third place is as good as a win is not necessarily
Well, so that's
Oh.
different because that's factually wrong, right? So like, I'm talking more about opinions.
What if I had to try harder to get that third place than the person who won got first?
Well, then that means because we all start at the same spot, that
Uh-huh.
means you did something wrong early on. So then you had to try harder to get to third. Um, so that would be your own fault that you had to try harder.
It sounds like you're not approaching this alternative fact with as much humility as possible.
Well, I mean, in that case, we're all starting from the same place. So yeah, we all start at the same draft. Now, if you want to take draft position into it, we can go from there. But
The debate continues.
yeah,
By the way, that Zangief quote was I mean, he's a character from Street Fighter, but it was from Wreck-It Ralph.
oh, there you go.
Anywho, we got a big week ahead, man. This is probably the best sports week in, I mean, a long time. So MLB coronavirus cancellation pending. I don't think it'll be canceled. Maybe some more games postponed, but anyway, more MLB in action. NFL training camp going to be firing up. The NBA is going to be back. When?
It's already been back a
31st,
little
right?
bit, but
Yeah, I know they're doing some like
uh,
scrimmages.
quick to go back to Lou. He's out for 2 games
Mm-hmm.
due to his quarantine from going and getting food and visiting people.
Thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers. So yeah, NBA is going to be back. NHL, I believe, is back August 1st. We got the FA Cup final this weekend, and we also have the Silverstone Grand Prix, which is always a big race.
Also, I know that everyone after the last F1 race, everyone probably wants to know my prediction for Silverstone. Considering I was correct after the last one, after qualifying, sending out the message congratulating Lewis Hamilton on winning the event the next day, even though it hadn't happened yet. After Silverstone qualifying, I will send out another message predicting the winner.
I love that you guys troll me so much about Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton in general, which it shouldn't bother me as much because I know you guys aren't as invested in it as me, and your primary motivation is to mess with me, but it definitely does the job. It fully it fully messes with me.
Good.
Yeah, it's kind of like how I troll Danny all the time about baseball because he's way more into baseball than maybe I am. But but he takes the bait every single time. So anywho, props to you guys for having my number there. And I kind of wanted to leave us with this Mark Davis quote. I don't know if you saw this, Jeff, but he was talking about I think a reporter was asking him about missing out on LA to the Chargers and to the Rams. Um, and this is his reaction to it. He said, "Well, I've lost games before. That's how I've learned to live my life. You lose on Sunday, you're pissed about it. I go to PF Chang's on Monday. I have lunch. Then I am on to next week." I mean, put that on a RotoWear shirt, man. I'll buy it. PF Chang's on Monday. So, if life's got you down, there's always PF Chang's. How does this compare to Andy Reid's pre-Super Bowl quote that his grandkids are like sweet and sour pork? Do you remember that quote?
I do not remember that quote.
Yeah, he said he was asked about, he was a grandpa now. What's being a grandpa like? And he said, he's like, they keep you young, but they also make you feel old. They're kind of like sweet and sour pork.
Oh, Andy Reid is a national treasure.
Yeah. I saw him do an interview. He's even slimmer. I know he slimmed down last year, but quarantine Reed is get moving in the right direction. So
yeah,
good for him. I mean, I love me a big man coach, but we're a podcast promoting health and wellness. So well done, Andy Reid, and well done, Mark Davis. By the way, I do not like PF Chang's. Just for the record. I mean, it's okay, but I mean, it's like the Denny's of Chinese food. Maybe a step up. They do have some awesome drinks, though. I will say that. So, my man Jeff, you got anything to add on before we get out of here?
Just got back from Idaho. Put a deposit down on a house.
Oh, dang! Put a deposit down.
Well, not like the normal 3% or 10% or whatever, but this was, so we're working with some home builders. So they showed us the lot we're going to have. They showed us a build that they're doing of the floor plan that we want. So we put down their deposit, which is like $2,000, to get the building date started, or to get the build started. And then once that goes through, Samantha will probably go back up there in a couple weeks to meet with them. But yeah, so that's my life at the moment.
Well, awesome, man. Best wishes in your new endeavor. I hope you're not joining a cult up there.
No.
I used to. Do you ever remember seeing those ads where it's like, join our community in the upper Northwest, where we all have chickens and goats and
yeah, I'm not trying to do that.
Okay, just don't drink the Kool-Aid.
No, never.
Well, awesome, man. All the best to you and your fam. We're gonna miss potentially having you around in the area, but yeah, Southern California just continues to go up in prices, so I can respect that. So, we done? We good?
Whenever you are.
Don't forget iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcast, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Follow us. Give us suggestions, give us reviews. Trust me, I am a huge proponent of self-improvement. I am a flawed man. I am well aware of that. Give us your feedback, positive or constructive. We want to make this thing better. I need to stop banging the table as much because I noticed the mic keeps picking it up. So I'm listening back. We are trying to make this thing better. We appreciate you guys for watching, and yeah, we love you guys. Let's go get some PF Changs, Jeff.
I'm ready.
All right.
I'll meet you there.
Bye, everyone. See you next week.
See ya.